Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Paul Gunson here from the Ark. Before you start saying I can't spell, the Ark, as you'll see, is related to Are You Ready for Change? And I think, given today's narrative of what we're watching in the media and what we're seeing on TV, what's really being talked about today is really what is going on. And I use the analogy of the Ark for Are You Prepared for the Change? Because while I've been talking about this for many years and currently writing a book based on what I believe is happening biblically and really how that fits in today's narrative, what I've tried to do through this series is to bring along guests who maybe have a slightly different point of view, maybe have different beliefs, different views on what's going on. And my guest today is no exception to that. So what I'd like to do first of all is welcome Mike McDonnell. How are you today, Mike?
Very well, my mate. How about yourself?
Fair into middling. Yeah, so what I'd like to do, Mike, is I know you share some. I'm kind of getting bored with the word conspiracy theory now. I think it's more about really finding the truth. What is the truth? Where's the truth coming from? What are we being told? Who's telling us what? What's the hidden agenda? And kindly, how do we minions, people who just want to get on with our lives, how do we make sense of it all? So let me ask you, if I could, Mike, what's your view on this kind of, if you look at the back of the American dollar bill, it says, the New World Order issue. But I think that's old school. I think it's kind of moved on from there. So tell me, what are your thoughts? What can you share with our viewers today?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you've rightly said, that it's something that's been kind of flaunted subliminally in our lives for years and years. And yeah, you're right, it might be an old school way of doing it, but it's got all of the same things that are happening with the Agenda 21. It fits all the same, ticks all the same boxes. But yeah, it's the old school way. But yeah, my interests lie in the secret societies and why they'd even go to put subliminal things in things and what their whole belief structure is. And that's when I started finding out that there was an agenda. It was a real one. These guys control everything that we see through media, music, games, you name it, these guys control it. So it's very interesting to me what they're showing us and what's actually going on. That was something that I knew was going on. It had to be, with the current state of the world. This hasn't been a random chain of events that's led us here. And we're really looking down the barrel of, something that isn't fun. People are waking up to it now because I think just of how shocking it is. Everyone's locked in their houses. This is a crazy new journey that we've never been on before as people. It's scary. It's confusing. I think the more media that what you watch, the more confused you get. Usually with information, it's meant to be the more you learn, the more you gather, you get a better picture. Where this, I think, the more you look at this thing, the further away you get away from it. It's so yeah, I think these are definitely signs of the New World Order, Agenda 21. This technical shift, technological shift that's being basically forced upon us. Whether the health reasons, are there too. That's an implication.
Okay. Let me just ask, first of all, let me just bring in my other guest who we've had in series 1 and 2. Obviously, this is kind of series 3. Chase, we've had this conversation before, and I think we're all kind of singing from the same hymn sheet, to coin an expression. So just remind us, what are your thoughts on this Agenda 2021 New World Order?
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, I'm scared, because it's like, if you know me, I'm into films, and everything's a filminology for me. And I feel like Rowdy Piper and They Live right about now, someone that just kind of passed me the sunglasses, and, I'm peeling back the curtain, as you said in the last episode about revealing the apocalypse, you know, it's a scary topic. A lot of people don't like to talk about it, but we are seemingly going down the curve that is presented before us on the news. So people are finding the time to talk about, you know, what could possibly be another reality to all of this. You know, what's happening right now is just the fact that you know, that whole theory around man-made creations or whatever, bioweapons and all of that. It's, as I said before, people are dying. You know, you have to respect the dead and all of that. But it's like I said before, if you go back to 9/11, at the time, people weren't talking about actually what happened, and it took them at least about another couple of years to be convinced of what you're trying to say now. That's why I really love the concept of the arc, because hey, I've been saying it. How come nobody's listening? Why are you calling me Dave's? And so I'm enjoying that. So I like to consider myself a passenger on your boat. I don't adhere to everything, but as a theorist, I speculate, and I'm open. So and that's where I'm glad that Mike was willing to come in to join us today, because I mean, the more voices that we have to the chorus, the more the chorus is no longer the crazy chorus.
Yeah, and I think, and I thank you both for coming on the show today. As I've mentioned in my narrative, I do come from a biblical world perspective, and again, just kind of off camera, we mentioned about the fact that, there have been reports of Noah's Ark being found on Mount Ararat, and yet, interestingly, the political argument that exists in around Turkey is you can't go there. There are some videos out there that said that they found the Ark of the Covenant. Same problem, political issues going on. You can't go there. So that kind of brings us forward, because I do believe this is all biblical, guys, and I do think, Book of Revelations, particularly 12 and 13, are being played out. And, we want to go down the rabbit hole of the mark of the beast, the 666. But just coming back to Mike, if I could ask Mike, this thing about, New World Order, Agenda 21, what do you see? I mean, I don't even want to say it. If I were to do that to you and say the 7th letter of the English alphabet, I think you'd kind of know where I was going. Yeah? Because, the last thing I want...
Hey, what did you just do? I don't know what that
5
is.
fingers on the 7th letter of the alphabet. Okay, because I noticed whenever I start having this conversation with people, stuff gets taken down. Facebook are monitoring us, So what this old technology, and you look a few years younger than me and Chase, Mike. So where do you see the technology of what's going on today that fits the narrative of this, coronavirus? And again, I'll use that, but you know what that means now. Where do you see that fitting in with today's sorts of technology and what's going on in the news?
Well, even though you mentioned there's an age gap, but we still came from a world where we both grew up playing outside, making dens, doing stuff like that. We weren't dragged to screens. So in that respect, we still came from that. What was different for me, it felt very fast that this change of, we went from phones that were phones to then having a cool little games on them, to then cameras, and then now everything, to the point where we are dependent on our phones like so much. So to see that was interesting, to see this shift already, and the life change that we've got, the lifestyles that we've got because of social media, the power that it's got in so many different aspects. It's crazy. It's given everybody a platform. Not saying, people shouldn't have a voice, but everyone's got this platform now. Like celebrities are people from YouTube sometimes. So it's very interesting, and I don't think I don't like it. I won't lie. I have to depend on it as an artist, but the idea of it, what I'm seeing because of it, it's a two-sided coin for me. It really is. And it's it's taken. I think it's camouflage, like it's connecting us somehow. But I think people are more disconnected now than ever because of it. But that's just me. That's just me. Some people really, it's helped them maybe. It's a crazy one.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting. Chase mentioned before about this thing about like in movies, and I'm kind of a movie buff myself, and I love the whole Marvel series, and kind of if I could be somebody, I'd probably want to be Thor, I think. But here's the thing: I watched the film yesterday. I wasn't looking for it. I was doing a lot of research in the morning, and then I kind of do about 4 hours research, and then I kind of have a break, watch a movie, then do 4 hours research, and then I'll watch a movie, then I go to bed. So what I came across was a film called Upgrade. And I'd encourage you to do that, because that's part of the AI agenda, and if I go back to this, Agenda 21, it's all about, people like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, who's now putting all these, apparently there's 400 satellites that have been put up, and he wants 40,000 of them. So why do we need 40,000 satellites beaming the same message if there wasn't a hidden agenda? So Chase, tell me something about some of the films you're watching, and kind of what you think the message that's subliminally being put out to us.
Well, like I just said, films are very interesting. I mean, They Live is an old film, going back to the early '80s. But I was telling you guys about this new series on Hulu that I had just managed to watch. Let's just use that word, shall we? Called Devs.
Devs, how are you spelling that?
And I won't say what the secret about Devs or what Devs is, but I will say that the show will boggle your mind. It will completely blow you away, because it's about determinism. And determinism is about the fact that everything is preordained and predetermined. So that means what you're supposed to do is what you were always going to do, even if you didn't want to do it. If it's predetermined, it will happen. And so they go through this whole thing where computers is kind of like the near future, but it's like the ability to see into the past, because the past is all about cause and effect. Right? So everything goes back to first cause, and the effect of that first cause has been predetermined over time. So my point about that is that what's really interesting is that it's just really kind of like a modern update of the Matrix. If we go back, the Matrix came out in 99 or something like that. What were the Wachowski brothers talking about? About us being just human batteries for evil overlords, but they also were talking about underneath that we were living in a simulation, kind of like Tamagotchi life, right? Or Sims, So we enjoyed that thought and philosophy as a game, as a video game.
Yes.
Because it's a way of, as you were saying about this whole hiding in plain sight scenario, so my thing about, let me just say, my thing about that is that what I'm most curious about is how the shadow government or conspiracy or whatever you want to call the people that are controlling everything, they didn't have supposedly technology back when they first set up something. You know what I mean? And so now that we're decades later, and we can uncover things like carbon dating or re-editing films like the JFK conspiracy. They didn't know that you would be able to do this and that and understand this later on. So it's kind of like, or did they?
It's one of them though. Who are you going to?
Wow, did they? For us, we didn't know that technology, but did somebody else?
Well, I'll come back to that, but Mike, just share your thoughts on that. I've got an answer to that one for you.
What was Chase was saying about? Well, it was more just like, okay, have you heard of William Cooper?
No.
No, he was the guy that basically, he got killed for the whole exposing Bin Laden thing, because he was saying, if the world believes that a cameraman and a reporter found the most wanted man on the face of the planet when CIA couldn't, NATO couldn't, and you all need your head testing. Well, he went on telly and dropped that. And anyway, they murdered him outside his house on November the 5th, which is also a very key number of don't mess with the power. And that was in America. But my point was, he went on telly and said, look, this is the driver shooting, if that's what whatever, that was what he was putting forward. And that was on telly. And still, I just said, you know, William Cooper, and you both went, no. Like, it doesn't matter. They control media. Once you control media, you control everything.
Yeah.
You do. It's like, I wish there was another way. That's how
I think you're right. And just going back to the point about, you know, did they have the technology? You know, here's my 2 pence worth from a biblical world point of view. In the beginning, as God created the world, there were 200 angels that were assigned to come and basically teach humanity how to build and how to live and talk about herbs, how to build plants. And some people will relate that to the Anunnaki, which certainly looks to be part of that plot. But the ultimate pre-flood, pre the flood, and the reason for the flood wasn't that you and I as people were just being naughty people and we were, having a party when we were supposed to be obeying God. It was that those angels wanted to become godlike themselves, and they wanted to mate with the daughters of men. So that's where we get the whole giant arguments and the Nephilim, and then the Nephilim, and then that story. But what happens and what people miss on that, because you won't hear this stuff in Sunday school when you go to church on a Sunday, they don't even talk about the giants. But when you look at that narrative, the curse that they got is that they were cast into Tartarus, a place of ice and snow. Now, if you think globally, well, where's the ice and snow? Well, guess where that is? The Antarctic. Oh, well, that's interesting. And they were cursed for 70 generations. Now, 70 generations biblically is 70 times 70, which happens to be 4,900 years. You bring that forward from the creation of the Garden of Eden, have a guess what year that comes out? 1880. What starts to happen around 1880? We start to enter into a technology age. Well, they had all that information, Chase. They knew what was going on. They were part of the plan to bring humanity forward from a biblical point of view. So now we've got these fallen angels who basically have become satanic by nature now because they've been cursed and they want to fight God, if you like. So what we've got now is they're now using that technology to try to rid mankind. So if you look at what's gone on since the beginning of the 20th century, people like Tesla, started to look at free energy, gets assassinated, in my argument. JFK wanted the people to be free because he remembered what the sorts of the Declaration of Independence talked about when it talked about money being, the people should control the money, not the governments, etc. So this new technology now that we're all seeing was always there. So it's not new. It hasn't just popped up out of fresh air. I believe it's through this demonic force now, Satan, Cabal, Illuminati, New World Order, and they're the puppets, And who's the puppeteer? Well, in my eyes, it's Satan. So that technology is not new. So whatever is coming about now, including this whole, 5G and what have you situation, it's not new. You mentioned before about ancient civilizations, Mike. Every ancient civilization's got the story of the flood. They've got the story.
Well, every culture has the story of the flood.
They've got the story of nuclear weapons. They've got the story of fire and chariots in the sky. Now, we could arguably say today that that's the UFO agenda. But it's just being presented to us in a narrative that gets everybody else to believe that whoever's giving us the narrative is right. So
I think you have to look at what's interesting about that. You have to look at it as the actual word of history or his story. you know, and the narrative really is depicted by, whoever's telling the story, right? So like what you just said, like about like Chariots, like the book Chariots of the Gods, it's like what we talked about that Joe Rogan video last time, about that art painting. It's not that people before us was less intelligent. It's just that they didn't have the words that was invented to be different. Absolutely. So to them, something riding across the sky must be a chariot, right? They're not going to say UFO.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wasn't it Ezekiel, the book of Ezekiel? He called them flying copper shields. That's how he described them.
And wheels with the wheels. Yeah.
So, yeah, no, exactly. But that's what I'm trying to say is that, like, I often have said before that, like, the idea of dragons, like, there's a lot of Japanese art, where, like, kings are riding around on silver dragons. But the idea of dragons, if you look at cloud formation, especially in the autumn time of year, the clouds are red and they have these weird formations that look like they're in the shape of dragons. So I think that art is really a good way. When you're looking at the past, it's just a way of determining, and they had words for it. So the reason why I'm trying to say about the historic kind of thing is, now that we've moved to these digital devices, Google is the new library. People don't read anymore. They don't actually feel the need to go to a book and actually read the actual story that is represented in that book. But, constantly, like I was actually, don't ask me why, but I was actually looking at my Disney Plus this morning about Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, and about how Snow White was originally a Grimm fairy tale from Germany, and that was what the difference that Walt Disney did in creating that movie and making the difference was because he was bringing a whole new kind of cultural aesthetic to the animation. But the point is the fact that his version it changes the narrative to the point where when we go to Google, hey Google, tell me about the crucifixion, or tell me about the Ark of the Covenant, we're going to get the digital representation, which means somebody has to write all that up. So pretty soon history tomorrow for our children and our children's children will probably be represented different than the history that we lived in now. You get me?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's happened before digital age too. I think people have.
But it's worse because of digital age. Is what I'm trying to say is now that we have these media moguls like Bill Gates and all these kind of people.
Yeah. No, I feel you there, Chase. No, you're right, Bob, man.
And we are the last ones that remember what it was like. So that's why you get this false disinformation. Pretty soon the generation below us are not even going to remember the Holocaust. They're not going to remember civil rights. They're not going to remember slavery. It's kind of like and that history will be buried. I will guarantee you that in the digital universe, there will be no mention of those kind of atrocities because they're man-made atrocities.
And just going back to your point on the library, Chase, you say, where's the best place to hide something in plain sight? And it is, if you wanted to hide truth, where would you hide it? In a library. But here's the thing, and just taking up on that theme of what's going on with AI now, we're being censored. At least if somebody wrote a book, it got into a library at some point, or somebody's got a copy of a book. Now, like I said, we're producing this YouTube video, and if the content doesn't meet the YouTube algorithm correctly, they'll take it down, or they'll try to take it down. So we're being censored, aren't we? So you mentioned about the Holocaust. You mentioned about the 6 million Jews. People in 10, 20 years will say, well, what was all that about? We can remember it. One of my bucket lists is to go to Auschwitz, because I want it to be real for me, not just something I heard about. Because I am a researcher. My passion is I research, and if you break down the word research, it's you research. Yeah, you just keep going over the narrative, going over it, trying to find new information, trying to share new information, and that's kind of what we're doing here today. We're each putting a slight different angle on potentially the same topic, but we're asking, well, how's it impacting on me? Like, for instance, Corona, this COVID-19 virus has impacted on me personally. It caused my wife's death. My granddaughter, who's 26, she works in the frontline hospital in St. Helens. Her colleague, who was a surgeon, died from coronavirus last week. And all the nurses are panicking because they're right in that. Now, can you imagine her recording that today of how she feels and writing it in a book? That would be a bestseller, wouldn't it?
I wrote last night a song for the nurse staff of the NHS, me and Eve Villa, who you know through my rap group Thoughtune. That was literally the track we've got coming out soon. The hook's all about looking after, staying in, staying safe, giving them a chance. Yeah. These people are falling down, crying because they just want a break and they can't have a break because they're on the front line of an invisible enemy. So yeah, definitely that needs to be addressed more. These people are doing a phenomenal job, and sorry for your loss.
Yeah, no, you're right. But the point I was trying to get with that is, in 20 years from now, going back to what Blake was saying, in 20 years time from now, people will say, nurses, those people.
Well, they tried to say that only 6 months ago, Paul.
What?
They tried to say that 6 months ago,
No, but what I mean is, all of a sudden now, the most important. Well, right now, the most important people on the planet are NHS staff. Or
I know, but you get what I'm trying to say. Though.
Yeah. But what the point I'm trying to get to is, in 20 years' time, I've got 5 grandkids. They might look on it, they might come across a YouTube post or whatever it is about at that point, and they'll say, well, what was all that about, Granddad? Or, to their mum, I might not even be here. Why was everyone, clapping outside their house? Why were people like Mike writing songs about nurses? Who were nurses? You know what I'm saying? That will be, in 20, as you say, in 20 years' time, that will have gone so far back to our, in our mind.
Yeah.
To me, it won't, because it's personal to me. But to the majority of humanity, it's not personal. There's still only a very small amount of people who are dying.
No, you're right. Because everything will probably be more automated and stuff. You know what I mean?
And therefore, it won't be needed. That kind of information won't be needed or required. And I would say right now, from where I stand, from a biblical world perspective, is we are now in a history of humanity that we've never ever been in before.
No.
And we're living it. Mike, you're writing songs and playing songs about it. I'm recording information via this platform, this YouTube, for my posterity, so that I can share with my grandkids and their kids and their grandkids what was going on in the year 2020 will become so synonymous with humanity as that was the day.
The earth stood still.
Nah. Literally, did it not?
Oh, no.
Did it not? Now, I wasn't going there, Chase. You kind of took the punchline off me. But, the earth stood still. And we've seen that film, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, my last word on that is that, it is like we are now living in the fictional reality that our ancestors imagined. Absolutely.
Amen to that.
Who knew that this day would come when we would actually be living in the place where there are empty streets and, like this, so, yeah.
Maybe we've took ourselves down this road.
Well, of course we did, because if you look at there's a documentary on YouTube right now called The Planet Without Humans. And, they give you this whole treatise on what would happen if one day there were no humans, and how at first the earth will look like it's going to die out and destroy itself, but actually it was nature's way of replenishing.
Mother Nature,
check it out. It's on YouTube, man. I was
Mother Nature is definitely a real thing, man.
Yeah, Mother Nature, and just on closing, sort of, first of all, I'd like to thank my 2 guests, Mike and Chase for coming on, and really valued your conversation today. But just to wrap it up, as a get on the ark and be prepared. The other film that I watched yesterday, one that I've watched a few times, but I just saw it with a different pair of sunglasses. Oblivion with Tom Cruise, which talks about your very point about the world almost becomes destroyed, and AI is kind of took over, if you like. Everything's robotic, everything's done with AI sensors and whatnot. And then right at the end, there was a hope at the end. There's always a hope. My hope for the end is that there is a God, there is a Yeshua, a Savior, Jesus, a Messiah, whatever word, whatever your faith, whatever you believe. And my message is a message of hope. So my invitation to anybody who listens onto this is to get on board the ark, be prepared for the change, make the change. There is a hope. Life is wonderful. There is a beautiful world out there. And, thanks to people like Mike who will write songs about it, people like Chase who will produce video and invite people along to tell their story, because it is a story. We will go down now in history with this information that we've shared with each other today as people who wanted to make a difference. So once again, thank you guys for coming on board. To coin an old Star Trek character that I love, which was Spock, please, to both of you, live long and prosper.
Here we go with the handshake.
Take care, guys. God bless. May you,
Thanks
whatever you endeavor to do, keep doing it and serve humanity well.
Thank you very much, brother. Stay safe.